Welcome back.
Oh,
Welcome back. Oh, my back is aching.
welcome back, me back, and I haven't seen you around these parts in a long time.
It's been tough. Been so much guard duty to do, so much watching, so many watchtowers and so many watchmen.
Be posted on the southern flank of the castle, overlooking the stinky bog of stinkness. I have been.
Yes, quagmire of sorts. Keep your eyes peeled for the rot flies.
I have been meaning to see you there, chum, because I have been wanting to ask about anti-heroes.
Oh, why anti-heroes, is it? Interesting. It's funny you say that, because I happen to have the definition of anti-hero written here in my pocket.
What
A central character in a story, film, or drama who lacks conventional heroic attributes. Wow. The skit's over. Welcome back to Guard Duty, everybody.
We have to announce that it's over. The skit's over now.
The skit's over.
You can leave.
The West Country accents are gone.
Always reminds me of home.
Absolutely. So, anti-heroes.
Yes.
A character that lacks conventional heroic attributes. We talked about villains before. Talked about magic systems, and I think this is an interesting angle to go at.
Yeah.
I think the best way to explore is to pick anti-heroes and discuss them personally. Now, I also had a little. I've Googled anti-hero examples, and the first thing that's come up has got a few on here, and I'm going to start with a rogue one because I really like it. Captain Jack Sparrow.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting anti-heroic character.
Yeah. The lovable rogue, right?
He is the definition of the lovable rogue.
The lovable rogue.
Yeah, absolutely right.
He doesn't make the right choices.
No.
Right, that's it. He doesn't make what you would consider to be morally good choices, but does them in a way that is quite light-hearted and fun. Is that what we're going
He's
with?
funny.
Is it like
he's funny?
fun?
Yeah, absolutely right. He's funny.
Yeah.
He's quirky, isn't he? He's got the whole eccentric
charisma
swagger and charisma. Exactly. He's
There's
very
a charisma to it.
charismatic.
Yeah.
I think he works so well in those films because piracy is very morally grey anyway.
Yes.
The setting of pirates is incredibly morally grey because basically you're turning up, killing people, stealing their ships. That's.
I would say that's pretty morally bad.
It's morally bad. Yeah, absolutely
morally
right.
black, maybe.
And I think I think the lightheartedness, the charisma make you feel like he's in some ways on the grey path, where he's somewhere between the light and the dark. I think you're right, because piracy is pretty bad.
It's also his kind of motives, right? His motives isn't plunder and pillage and destroy. It's I want to get my ship back.
Yes,
that's the
true.
motive. It's
true.
Though he may go about that motive in kind of disreputable ways, his motive isn't necessarily an evil motive. It's a motive of wanting to get one's possessions back. So that helps kind of keep him on that morally grey type road, I think.
Yeah.
Some really good ones. I like he's kind of like a fun one. He's kind of that lovable rogue. But you've got things like Geralt of Rivia.
Oh, that's a cool one. I hadn't thought of him.
Yeah.
You're totally right. He is an anti-hero.
Yeah, moved by mainly money, as witches normally are.
Yeah.
But has this kind of sweet spot, this vulnerability that makes him kind of also kind of lives by a kind of personal code as well. It has that kind of protecting of the innocents with Ciri.
Yeah.
But is primarily motivated by his personal gain and by money.
Yeah. And he is persecuted, isn't he? The witches are persecuted people. Even though he's powerful, way more powerful than a normal human, he's persecuted by humanity. He's distrusted, which makes him... He's always on edge around people, isn't he? He's always guarded. That's a really good example, actually, because he is motivated by money, because he is a killer for hire. He's a monster slayer. That's what he does. He turns up, he kills the monster, he gets money off you for it. He's awesome though, and he does have that heroic element of wanting to protect the innocent, wanting to kill the monster because it's evil. A lot of the time, like sometimes it's because it's evil. Some of the monsters though he kills, he's like this isn't evil. This is just a creature that's just lives in the wrong place, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of that throughout the. I've only read the first 2 books.
I've read I think
I've played the games
book. Yeah,
but there are monsters that he doesn't kill and kind of sends off to like not die, because he does have that kind of code that he lives to, where a monster, I guess, is a kind of perceived thing if it's like a dragon. Because, like, also, like, St. George slaying the dragon. No one goes, like, let's persecute St. George. They go, he slayed the dragon. But with Geralt of Rivia, have this kind of... Because maybe the setting that it's in as well, this kind of grim, dark type setting where... It's also the difference is that witches mutate themselves to fight monsters. So they kind of become a monster themselves.
Exactly.
And that's kind of an anti-hero theme anyway, that kind of, like, corruption of oneself. Because you could have... Venom would sit into that thing as
definitely.
Well. The symbiote is a form of corruption, but you're using that kind of corruption to do good or to be a hero. I know Venom is more of a villain, maybe because he has been a villain in quite a lot of stuff. But I know they've tried to anti-hero him a couple of times in a couple of different
absolutely they do
forms.
Yeah. And I think there's a morally grey element to a lot of these, and actually I think comic books is a really classic example. Like you mentioned, Venom, Wolverine is my favourite. He's my absolute favourite superhero. He's so cool, but he is an anti-hero.
Hugh Jackman is your favourite.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. We've established this. I love Hugh Jackman, and I love Wolverine. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's great,
and he has that bestial aspect where he can lose control and kill loads of people and gets enraged at points. And he's a similar thing where he's even amongst the mutants, he's kind of odd. Like you shoot him and he gets hurt, but he doesn't die. He just carries on.
Yeah,
he's so ridiculously cool. He's so cool, and he is obviously very much. What makes him an anti-hero, I think, in the films would be things like he's very wisecracky, but he does at points he'll spoil for a fight. At some points he'll like the whole bit in the Wolverine, that one where he stabs the guy in the hand with the poisoned arrow and stuff like that. He's sought this guy out to have a fight with him. Like he likes scrapping.
Dirty fighter.
He is a dirty fighter.
Bit of a dirty fighter,
right?
And also at some points in the comics and in the films, he's kind of motivated for himself. Like I think a lot of the films he starts normally a Logan starting is I'm out for myself, and then someone comes along and convinces him that they need his help, and without him they can't do this thing. And Logan goes, okay, I will help you for this because I do have some type of heart. A lot of Logan stuff, even the film, Logan, the old man Logan, a lot of that still is like trying to convince, because I think that's because of the abilities of his power. He's so strong that he can't die, so he can't be so up for the fight to help all the time, where you just have this invincible Superman-esque person. So maybe that's why the story elements is always a little bit of like, we have to convince Logan to help us, but which then adds into that kind of anti-hero, because heroes don't have to be convinced to do what is right. They do it because that is innately who they are.
And I'm so glad you did the perfect description. This leads me on to this one on the anti-hero examples list on Google that I disagree with. Batman, I just think he's a hero, right? What you just said is he does the right thing because that's the right thing to do. That's Batman.
No, yeah. Maybe because I don't know, something inside me is like he's a loved one as well, man. Watch out. Let me get search of Batman. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of the thing it's saying here is, because I'm not massively versed in Batman, I apologize everybody, that he operates in the shadows and uses fear as a tool.
True.
He is driven by vengeance and a desire for justice that borders on obsession, and his willingness to bend but not break the law places him in the anti-hero column.
Interesting.
So the willingness to kind of, I like the frame of like the willing to bend the law but not break it. Like I won't kill you, but I will beat you to a bloody pulp in the name of justice.
Justice.
Okay, but I get what you mean though. On the definition that I used, Batman actually, what sets him aside from loads of other heroes is that he doesn't kill. Like it's the same as Spider-Man. Like the ones that they're one of their like main rules is they don't kill. I know that's why like the end of the Killing Joke is so like, because they like do an open ending of like, does he kill the Joker? Because Batman not killing people is such a quintessential like part of his character. And maybe I think there was a couple backlash on some more modern Batman ones because he was so willing to kill people, and people were like, that's actually quite against the kind of comic book version.
That was the Ben Affleck Batman, wasn't it? Is they made him older Batman and he just used guns.
He just used guns,
he just shot somebody. That's not what Batman does. And there was definitely a discontinuity there, discordance, I think, from what the traditional values of Batman.
But that gives him a kind of like a caged beast vibe in the fact that he could so easily just like this guy fights Superman and is just a bloke, like, and can fight Superman. He has the beast inside him, the monster, but like he cages himself to this kind of like iron law of like, I will not kill, I will not, I will not break the law, but I will bend it. Like, caging that element makes a really, really good anti-hero, I think.
Yeah. This is an interesting one, so I'm just going to yawn. Oh.
Am I boring you, man?
Sherlock Holmes.
Interesting.
I just watched Sherlock, the BBC TV show, which is incredibly
good.
With
Cumberbatch?
Yeah, with Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. He has heroic outcomes, but the means by which he achieves those heroic outcomes of solving the mystery is riddled with ego. It's riddled with dramatization. It's riddled with underestimating people and being rude to everyone. Yeah. He definitely sits in the anti-hero because he does the right thing of solving the puzzle, but a lot of the time his motive for doing it, like there's one part in the show where there's like these people have been kidnapped and there's like a bomb threat and he's excited. Everyone else is like,
it's a problem to solve.
Yeah, he's like, puzzle. It's a great puzzle. And everyone's like, dude, there's like an old lady with some Semtex strapped to her belly. Like, this is not funny or okay. And he just doesn't see it like that at all. But they present him as, there's like an autistic element to the way they present him in the show.
As in like not understanding the kind of social cue element of
the
it,
social cues. There's loads of things where he misses the social cues and things like that. I think for him, like, he has a massive ego. He just, he's so rude to everybody because he just sees them as less than him. Yeah. But he also has this heroic aspect where he wants to save people. He wants to save John. He saves John loads of times. He loves John. He loves other characters. They start him as more the anti than the hero at the beginning, and then they slowly but surely build him up into eventually quite a well-rounded person by the end. Which I thought was really interesting, of like a transition of a character from hero to anti-hero.
Well, I think as well, if you look at it story-wise, you can't transition Sherlock on his intellect or him learning things.
Yeah.
So you have to transition him through personality and through like connection to people. That's his actual character arc, instead of it being, because you know Sherlock Holmes is going to solve the murder because they're Sherlock Holmes. They are the best of the best. Maybe they won't, for story elements, but interesting one, because I think that's really interesting because a lot of these we've said so far have like supernatural elements to them, where Sherlock doesn't have supernatural elements to them, and that's what makes that really interesting. That kind of anti-hero isn't like you have great power, and it's kind of also that that willing to kind of, I think the ego was really interesting when you're talking about like Sherlock Holmes, and it's the ego, like the pridefulness is a kind of, we link that to kind of villains, pride in villains, and then you have a hero that has this pride and blinds them to not doing things right. But one of my favourites anti-heroes, Roland Deschain from Gunslinger books.
Oh yeah.
If you've read the first one, even in the first one, you see.
He's very much on the grey side of the heroes.
Yeah, for sure. It's that, once again, the goal comes before anything else. I think anti-hero, I guess, is once again, it's the placing of things in your kind of moral order. Roland is, I will get to the Dark Tower and I will place that above even the lives of people around me. like I will make any sacrifice willing to make this goal attainable. Basically,
the ends justify the means is basically his thing, isn't it?
The means.
The end result achieves everything. You're absolutely right. He's an amazing character, and because it's there's so much from him in it, about his train of thought and about how he approaches it. Is it third person or is it? I can't remember if it's. I feel like
I'm literally reading the book.
It's like the gunslinger. So third
there
person,
is a kind of third person,
but it's very polluted by.
I've just read the fourth one. I think the fourth one's in first, maybe.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay, that's cool.
But I think it is in third.
But and you feel his ideas bleeding into it, which I think is really interesting. Now, this one, I debate this one. I debate this one, and actually, my wife's opinion on this one historically has changed my view, which is Snape.
Severus Snape.
So I think Snape is a not nice, cruel bully.
Yeah.
Who does some of the right things in a war effort.
Right.
And some of that
that's
because he loves Lily Potter and whatever. But also, like, he's actually not a good guy. I don't think he's particularly heroic. I think J.K. Rowling intentionally added this aspect of it, you realising, oh, there is this backstory. He's been protecting Harry this whole time. He's been doing this, he's doing that. But, like, being funny, isn't that his job? He's a teacher. Like, we're both teachers. Like, that's your job, mate.
Yeah.
You look after kids. You make sure they don't die. Like, I just don't think he's that heroic. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I'm not, like I said, not massive Harry Potter fan, so I don't know too much about it. But I know of, like, so he's in love with Lily, and how does he protect Harry throughout the books? He kind of arrives, he protects him from the goblet of fire, doesn't he, or something like that, I think.
He does, so he does, like, stuff like he's trying to say the counter curse when Harry's broom's getting jinxed by Quirrell. He just does the counter curse and stuff. It's stuff like that.
But he kind of bullies Harry a little bit. But is a little bit of that because it's through Harry's perspective? And when that's when you're a child being treated unfairly by an adult, your perspective is that adult sucks. Like, there's a bully, they're not very nice.
A fair view.
Maybe it could be that it's bleeding through Snape even though he's trying not to. But I do get what you mean. Yeah. I don't know if I was massively convinced by the Snape twist when I was like, I get it, but
I get what they were trying to do with it. I get it. I just find it hard to put him on the list. Another one on here which I really like is Han Solo.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely an anti-hero.
Lovable rogue, once again. Like the classic lovable rogue.
Exactly right.
Like, once again, in it for his own means. And that's like, he's in it for the money, he's in it for the kind of, not even the glory, just the money. So once again, that kind of motive, the motive can really make an anti-hero. I'm in it just in it for the money. And then we all love it when someone that's just in it for the money gets softened up by friendship and love.
Yeah.
And him returning in that firefight when he turns and shoots Darth Vader's thing is like quintessential. So good.
And you're right. I think that aspect of giving them developing a motive beyond their original ones. That we'll be saying for Sherlock. Like, originally his motive is he loves being smarter than everybody. So he solves crimes because he finds that mentally stimulating, because he's an addict, and that's the whole concept. Whereas eventually it's like he actually solves crimes quicker when his friends and the people he loves are at risk because he wants to save them, not because he wants to solve the puzzle. And I think it's the same thing, like you say, that development of a hero from that anti-hero into more of the heroic, I think is a great story arc. Is it a story, obviously you are a person that likes telling stories, you mentioned before you're an author. Is that something you'd ever consider like exploring as a narrative concept?
What?
An anti-hero.
Anti-hero character arcs? Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I find them, everyone loves them now as well. Like, they're really in fashion since things like Game of Thrones, where all the heroes are kind of anti-heroes because they're all
everyone's an anti-hero.
Everyone's apart from Ned Stark. everybody else is out for kind of themselves.
Literally.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So since like the first Law trilogy, there is a lot more of the kind of anti-heroes around. What I'm really interested in, which I really like, is, I talked about Venom before, is that villain to anti-hero. Like going from like being a flat out Harley Quinn would probably be in the same character, like flat out bad person, evil motives, to then going, I'm now morally ambiguous. Thank you. Yeah, to getting to ambiguity.
That is an interesting transition. You're right. You're absolutely right. That is interesting.
I don't know how you do it though, because you would have to establish them as a villain. So you would have to have them maybe in a book or a comic first as the villain, like in Harley Quinn and thingy, and then through storylines slowly soften them into anti-heroes, or give them things that change their motives, or give them a reason why they would have a moral shift to this kind of anti-hero thing. I think
go on.
I haven't read them, but I think the Covenant books are a bit like that. There's like they're older, but he's like a really cynical, bitter guy. I think he's like a leper, and then he gets like transported to a heroic land and has like powers, and then everyone's like, "You've got these powers, you're like the chosen one," and he just rebukes that and just like goes like, "No, I'm not going to be a hero. I'm just going to live." So that's quite interesting. Like he then is like an anti-hero, well, kind of a villain, like rebukes that being a hero, and then slowly through the course of the books becomes a hero. But yeah, I don't know how I would make that happen, but it's super interesting, I think.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? There's one on here which I think is a very interesting one, which is Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, which is very interesting. And the reasons it says on the Google page is his constant bending of the law and obsessive pursuit of a lost love despite its destructive outcomes, basically. Which is totally true, because him pursuing his lost love is the end for him, and his love and all his friends' lives change irrevocably. Like he's doing it because he loves somebody, and that's an interesting thing, is doing the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Yeah,
is like the opposite, isn't it? You're trying to.
Your motive's good, the way you go
your
about
motive's
it
good,
bad.
but the outcome is terrible. Like he fluffs it all at the end,
Yeah.
and how he's got there is it's in Prohibition, and they're like selling dodgy booze, aren't they? He's like there's like a racketeering thing, and he's like the front for the racketeers and stuff like that. Very interesting character. I personally love the Great Gatsby film with Leo DiCaprio. I think it's really captivating. I really, really liked it.
The book's really good as well. I think the book's written in... Is the book written in second person? No.
Is second person you?
Yeah, you.
That's
you do this.
Crazy if it is.
I think it... Book. No, it's a first person narrative. It's a first person narrative.
So it's told from what, Tobey Maguire's character's perspective, I'd imagine?
Yeah. He's called... I can't remember. But yeah, really good. Great Gatsby. I read it quite recently as well. But if you want to read a second person book, the 5th season's quite cool.
Wow.
That's good. Have you never read a second person?
Nah,
they're quite rare because they're really hard to do well.
They are very... It sounds... Yeah.
They're really hard to do well. But yeah.
That's amazing.
N.K. Jesman, fantastic author, very well celebrated. Very,
cool.
very
I'll check that out, man. That sounds good. Good recommendations.
Yeah. I wasn't a massive fan of it though.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Critically acclaimed, like amazing. I personally struggled with it. I didn't find it very captivating. But I know that loads of people hold it.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
So don't discount it on my part.
Okay, interesting.
Talking about villains to anti-villains, though, that last thing we're talking about, Darth Vader, right? Because
completely.
Then at the end, kind of becomes an anti-villain.
Yeah.
Well, or a good person, I guess, which would make them in the middle, which would make them an anti-villain.
I think he becomes. There's anti-heroic.
Yeah.
Story arc. His end point is
anti-heroic. So he's actually just an anti-hero over the top because he's a villain, and at the end becomes the hero. And then because of that, kind of sits in the middle.
Yeah.
Is that what makes an anti-hero, though? Do you get to be a villain the whole way through, make one good decision at the end, and become an anti-hero?
No.
No, I was like, no.
Like,
no good deed
that's
goes.
like a redemptive thing. I think that's just a redemptive. I think that's a redemptive thing, and that because his story arc is redemption, isn't it?
Yes,
he redeems it. He fulfills the prophecy.
Yeah,
he brings balance to the Force, like all of that. But does it undo the genocide?
The genocide against
the killing of younglings? Like no,
probably not.
Probably not. No, and but in the landscape of Star Wars, which is not like Game of Thrones, which is very morally grey. Star Wars is more like there's a.
I think some of the newer stuff they've tried to go because it's very in fashion right now to be that kind of morally. So they've definitely but OG Star Wars, Sith
it's
versus
very light
Jedi,
and dark, isn't it?
Very light and
good,
dark, very duality,
like dark side of the Force, exactly that. Yeah, interesting.
Amazing. Oh, this is a really good topic, isn't it?
It's been a really good one, man.
It's really good. Yeah.
Is there any others we've missed that you wanted to mention? Is there any
I'll look for my notes. There is one. There is one. I think you'll enjoy this one too. Paul Atreides. From the Dune books.
Okay, so I just watched the first Dune film the other day, like for the fifth time or whatever.
Oh, okay. I was going to say like for the first time.
No, I've watched it those times.
Have you seen the second one?
I've read the first Dune book and some of the second one, and then it's just dense. It's really dense. So I really struggled, and I really struggled. But starts heroic. The deeper he goes, I think, the worse he gets.
Well, because he has to like pick up this mantle of like Messiah, basically.
Literally the Messiah of an intergalactic war.
And then you have to bring apart the jihad and literally the holy war that will end the universe. Like, it's tough. That's tough.
It is tough. Great character, and the films are very good as well. I really love
the films. Are great. I think
good.
Just the spectacle of them, it's just so great to see that that's what we can do now. Like the future of sci-fi on the screen is looking incredibly bright. Like it just the fact that that's where we are now, like the thopters, the sandworms, and it just looks
like reality, doesn't it?
Whoa.
It looks real. And like the one of the best parts about it, actually, of the Dune films is Hans Zimmer's like soundtrack is unreal. Like it's absolutely incredible. Like, he's a genius.
He's a genius
of his sphere, isn't he?
There's no one would doubt that. I don't think. Like the amount of projects he's been a part of, the amount of projects that he's been able to change, just by soundtrack is.
I mean, he's genius.
You give him where it's due.
Yeah, absolutely right. No, I really like Paul Atreides. That's a good point.
He is a great character. I haven't read the second book. I've read the first one, but I haven't read the second. I know they get pretty wild. I've obviously read all the synopses and I've read through it because I'm just interested because it's such a foundational sci-fi novel. But soon, though.
I will get on that as well. I want to. I'm just in that it was a real slog. And I'm reading Tales of Earthsea, which you recommended the other day.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah, I thought you would like it just because, like, it's written like an old fantasy book, so it's like really epic, really like strange. Like, it's not how you would read fantasy these days, but it's got that kind of magic about it that I really find in those older stories.
Oh yeah, I really love it. It's good. I highly recommend that to anybody. Yeah, Tales of Earthsea is really satisfying, really cool. Just great books.
Great books.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That is it, my friends. And, well, to you, viewer.
Yeah.
To you, viewer. Enjoy the rest of your guard duty. The biscuits have run low. There's no more stew. Warm your feet by the fire.
Make sure you're liking and subscribing as well. Yeah. We release videos every 2 weeks. We post shorts and we post memes, content. Always trying to improve, always trying to get better. Follow us on our journey.
Sorry, the West Country accent killed my voice. I was
desperately trying
not to cough.
Just going redder and redder as the West Country accent sends you off. All right. Okay, let's do it. Okay, thank you everybody and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.